Have you ever found yourself standing at a crossroads, not between two paths, but between who you are and who you think you should be? You make a choice, perhaps, to indulge in something fleetingly sweet, to procrastinate on a meaningful project, or to say yes when every fiber of your being is screaming no. And in the quiet aftermath, a familiar, hollow ache settles in. It's the quiet sting of self-betrayal, the frustrating sense that you are not fully in command of your own ship. You have a destination in mind, a healthier body, a finished novel, a more authentic relationship, but you feel adrift, pulled by the invisible currents of impulse and expectation. We often label this a failure of willpower, a weakness of character. We tell ourselves, I just need more discipline, and we try to muscle our way through, only to find ourselves back in that same hollow place. But what if the problem isn't the strength of your will? What if the problem is the clarity of your map? Imagine for a moment that you are a cartographer. Your life's work is to chart the vast, intricate, and unique landscape that is you. This inner world has its own mountains of strength, its valleys of vulnerability, its winding rivers of emotion, and its hidden forests of untapped potential. Your self-concept is this map. It is the collection of beliefs you hold about who you are, your personality, your values, your capabilities, your roles in the world. For some, this map is crisp, clear, and detailed. The coastlines are defined, the territories are known, the compass points steadily towards a true north. They have what psychologists call high self-concept clarity. But for many of us, the map is blurry, the ink is smudged, the landmarks are indistinct, and the entire landscape is shrouded in a persistent fog. We are trying to navigate the most important territory we will ever know, but we can barely read the map in our hands. This is the heart of the struggle. It's not a lack of willpower. It's a lack of wayfinding. When you don't know with certainty who you are, how can you possibly know which direction to go? How can you command a ship when you are unsure of its very design, its purpose, its destination? This uncertainty, this fog of the self, is the hidden force that sabotages our best intentions and leaves us feeling powerless. This isn't just a poetic metaphor, it's a profound psychological truth. A revealing series of studies published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin by researcher Kai-Yuan Jiang and his colleagues explored this very connection. They sought to understand the invisible thread that links a fuzzy sense of self to a weakened grip on our own actions. Across 5 different experiments, a consistent pattern emerged. People who reported lower levels of self-concept clarity, those with the foggier inner maps, also reported feeling a significantly weaker sense of control over their own behavior. They were less likely to persist in challenging tasks designed to improve their performance. They showed less inclination to stick with exercise plans. In essence, the less clearly they saw themselves, the less capable they were of directing their own lives toward their long-term goals. The fog wasn't just obscuring the view, it was paralyzing the will to move forward. And this journey into the landscapes of the mind is precisely what we do here, together. We are all cartographers of our own inner worlds. If this idea of charting your own soul, of clearing the fog to find your true north, is already sparking a new perspective for you, take a moment to subscribe to Mind Decode Explained. We journey through these intricate territories of psychology together every week, turning abstract concepts into tools for healing and growth. There is so much to discover, and it is a privilege to be your guide. The research by Jiang's team uncovered a critical missing piece of the puzzle, an intermediary factor they called self-continuity. This is the felt sense that the you of the past, the you of the present, and the you of the future are all connected, part of one continuous, coherent story. Think of it this way. Your map isn't just a static picture of your current location. A good map shows you where you've come from and helps you plot a course to where you want to go. When your self-concept is clear, you can see the thread that connects your past experiences, your present actions, and your future aspirations. The sacrifices you make today saying no to that dessert, sitting down to write that chapter make sense because they are paving the road to a future self you know and cherish. But when your self-concept is foggy, that thread breaks. The future self becomes a vague, distant stranger. Why would you sacrifice comfort in the present for someone you don't even know? The lack of a clear, stable identity dissolves the bond between your present actions and their future consequences. Instant gratification wins, not because you are weak, but because the alternative working toward a long-term goal feels abstract and disconnected from the person you are today. The cartographer, who cannot see the destination on the map, has no reason to endure the arduous journey. They will simply set up camp wherever they are, seeking whatever small comforts are immediately available. This is where we encounter one of the most common misconceptions about self-improvement, that self-control is simply a matter of brute force, of white-knuckling your way through temptation. We imagine it as a battle, a war against our baser instincts, but this framing is exhausting and often ineffective. As the pioneering work of psychologist Roy Baumeister has suggested, our capacity for self-regulation can be like a muscle that gets tired or a limited energy resource that gets depleted. If you spend all your energy just trying to figure out who you are supposed to be from one moment to the next, you have very little left over to actually regulate your behavior. A person with a clear self-concept is like a driver on a well-paved, clearly marked highway. They can conserve their energy for the actual driving. A person with a foggy self-concept is like a driver off-roading in a dense forest at night with a sputtering flashlight. Every inch of the journey requires immense effort, navigating unseen obstacles, constantly second-guessing the path. It's no wonder they run out of gas. The real path to powerful self-control isn't about building a bigger engine of willpower. It's about paving the road, clearing the forest, and drawing a clear, reliable map. It's about identity, not just intensity. So where does this fog come from? Why are so many of our inner maps so hard to read? In many cases, it's because we've allowed others to be our cartographers. When we lack a strong internal sense of self, we become intensely reliant on external sources for our identity. We look to our jobs, our partners, our social media followers, or the prevailing cultural winds to tell us who we are. The acclaimed researcher and storyteller Brené Brown speaks profoundly about this. She describes the deep human need for belonging and connection. But when that need is filtered through a lens of unworthiness or a blurry self-concept, we stop seeking belonging and start seeking approval. We perform, we perfect, we please. We hand the pen and compass to others and beg them, "Please, draw my map for me. Tell me who I am." This is the person who clings to the societal definition of success, even if it makes them miserable. It's the person with body image issues, desperately trying to sculpt their physical form to match an airbrushed ideal of man who must be muscular, a woman who must be thin because that external image feels more real than any internal sense of value. It's the individual who adopts the political or religious views of their social circle without deep personal reflection, because agreeing is easier than the lonely work of discerning one's own truth. The danger of this external cartography is that the landscape is constantly shifting. The approval you gained yesterday can vanish today. The social trend that defined you last month is obsolete this month. When your sense of self is built on this shaky ground, you live in a state of quiet, chronic anxiety. The slightest tremor of disapproval, rejection, or criticism feels like a seismic earthquake that threatens to shatter your entire identity. And this is why, as the research points out, people with low self-concept clarity often turn to maladaptive coping strategies. When faced with difficulty, instead of turning inward to their own well-defined strengths and values to solve the problem, they reach outward for something to numb the uncertainty. They might turn to alcohol, drugs, emotional eating, or mindless scrolling anything to quiet the disorienting feeling of not knowing who they are. These aren't solutions, they are temporary shelters in the fog, offering a brief respite from the terrifying boundlessness of an undefined self. They are attempts to escape the landscape rather than learn to navigate it. The pain of rejection is magnified 100-fold when you have outsourced your sense of worth. It's not just that someone has said no to you, it's that their rejection has ripped a hole in the very map you were using to exist. You feel lost, not just because you were turned away, but because the landmark you were navigating by has crumbled to dust. This brings us to a second common misconception, that finding yourself is a one-time event, a destination you arrive at, perhaps on a gap year or during a spiritual retreat. We imagine a single dramatic aha moment where the fog lifts instantly and our true self is revealed in all its glory. But the reality is far more gentle and far more profound. Becoming your own cartographer is not a destination. It is a practice. It is the patient, ongoing process of exploring your own inner territory, of paying attention, of drawing and redrawing your map as you learn and grow. Your map is not a static document carved in stone, it is a living manuscript, and you are its author and illustrator. So how do we begin this sacred work? How do we take back the pen and start charting our own world with clarity and confidence? The first step is to become a curious and gentle surveyor of your own land. This is the practice of self-reflection, not with judgment, but with genuine curiosity. Think of it as fieldwork for your soul. One of the most powerful tools for this is journaling, not as a diary of events, but as a logbook of your inner state. Ask yourself questions and let the answers flow without censorship. When do you feel most alive? What activities make you lose track of time? Who are you with when you feel most like yourself, with no need to perform? What are the recurring themes in your thoughts, your dreams, your frustrations? These are your landmarks. The moments of genuine joy are your sunlit peaks. The situations that consistently drain you are your swamps. The topics that spark your passion are your flowing rivers. You are not judging these features, you are simply noting their existence. You are gathering data, observing the unique climate and geography of you. Pay attention to your body. Where do you feel excitement? What does anxiety feel like in your chest? This is all information, all essential data for your map. Once you begin to identify the landmarks, the next step is to find your compass. Your compass is your set of core values. Values are not goals. Goals are destinations on the map. Values are the direction of your compass needle. They are the principles that guide your journey, regardless of the terrain. A goal might be to get a promotion, but the underlying value might be contribution, mastery, or security. A goal might be to lose 20 pounds, but the value might be health, vitality, or self-respect. Unlike the shifting opinions of others, your core values are remarkably stable. To find them, you must look inward. Ask yourself, what qualities do I admire most in others? What in my life makes me feel proudest? If I had no fear of judgment, what would I stand for? Try to distill your answers into single words: honesty, compassion, creativity, courage, connection, freedom, justice, growth. Choose the 3 or 4 that resonate most deeply, the ones that feel like your true north. These values become your ultimate guide. When you face a decision, you no longer have to ask, "What would other people do?" or "What is expected of me?" Instead, you can hold the decision up to your compass and ask, "Does this choice align with my value of creativity? Does it honor my value of honesty? Does it move me in the direction of connection? This internal compass provides a stable, reliable guide that external validation never can. It is the foundation of a clear self-concept. With landmarks noted and a compass in hand, the third step is to draw the borders of your territory. This is the crucial act of setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls you build to keep people out. They are the clear, defining lines on your map that delineate what is me and what is not me. They are a loving declaration of self-ownership. A person with a foggy map has porous borders. They unconsciously absorb the emotions, opinions, and demands of others. They say yes when they mean no because they fear the conflict of asserting their own needs. Their energy is constantly being siphoned off to tend to other people's landscapes. To draw your borders, you must first get clear on what your needs are: the need for rest, for creative time, for quiet, for respectful communication. Setting a boundary is simply communicating that need with kindness and firmness. It might sound like, "I would love to help with that project, but I can't take on anything new this week." Or, "I appreciate your perspective, but I see it differently." Or even, "I need some quiet time to recharge right now." Each time you set a healthy boundary, you are reinforcing your own map. You are saying, "This is my territory. These are my resources. This is how I need to care for my own landscape." This act doesn't push people away. It invites them to engage with the real you, the you that exists within those clear and respected borders. It fosters relationships based on authenticity, not obligation. As you survey your land, trust your compass, and define your borders, something remarkable begins to happen. The fog starts to thin. The features of your inner world become sharper, more defined. You begin to see the connections, the self-continuity that the researchers identified. You can look back on your map and see the path you've traveled, recognizing how past challenges shaped the mountains of resilience you stand on today. You can look at your present location with clarity, understanding why you feel the way you do and what you need. And you can look toward the horizon and see a future that is a genuine extension of who you are. This is the breakthrough moment. The feeling of being in control emerges not from force, but from clarity. The temptation for a fleeting pleasure loses its power, not because you are fighting it, but because it is so clearly a detour away from the direction your whole being is pointed. Sticking to your exercise plan is no longer a chore. It is an act of alignment with your value of health and your vision of a vital future self. Resisting the urge to buy something you don't need is no longer about deprivation. It's about honoring your value of freedom and your goal of financial peace. You are no longer a rudderless ship. You are a confident cartographer, and for the first time, you are navigating by your own beautiful hand-drawn map. This journey of self-discovery, of becoming your own cartographer, is the most important expedition you will ever undertake. It is the silent, steady work that underpins a life of purpose, resilience, and genuine self-control. It is not about becoming a perfect, unflappable person. The storms will still come. There will be days when the fog rolls back in. There will be new, uncharted territories to explore as you grow and change. The map is never truly finished. But you will have something you didn't have before. A deep, unshakable trust in your ability to find your way. You will know how to find your landmarks, how to recalibrate your compass, how to honor your borders. You will know that the answers you seek are not out there, in the applause or approval of others, but within you, in the quiet truth of your own landscape. The sense of peace that comes from this inner clarity is profound. The desperate need for external validation quiets down. The sting of rejection lessens, because when someone rejects you, they are no longer rejecting the entirety of who you are. They are simply a single data point, an interaction that does not have the power to erase your map. You are anchored in something far more real and enduring. You begin to move through the world with a new kind of confidence, not the loud confidence of ego, but the quiet confidence of self-knowledge. You become a safer harbor for others because you are not trying to get them to define you. You can offer your presence without an agenda, your love without conditions. This is the ultimate gift of self-concept clarity. It doesn't just give you control over yourself, it gives you the freedom to be yourself, and in doing so, it allows you to connect more authentically and deeply with the world around you. So take a breath, pick up your pen. The most beautiful map you will ever see is waiting to be drawn. And the journey is not to some far-off destination, but deeper and deeper into the magnificent, complex, and sacred territory of you.